Look at this distinguished gentleman. Look at the way he sits. So I'm excited today because I'm going to be crocheting a giant, maybe this giant frog. Why am I doing this, you may ask? Why not? So I've already been on a supply run, but we do have a few decisions to make. So you see, here's what happened at the store. I went to Spotlight. I was looking for some green yarn, some chunky green yarn to make our giant frog. This yarn I really liked in terms of chunkiness. It got the tick of approval. In terms of colour, it also got the tick of approval. But I was like, I was kind of hoping to find something kind of fluffy so the frog would be really soft. So my alternative was this yarn. I have used this yarn before. I made a reversible octopus with this yarn and it is lovely to work with and lovely and soft. But the problem with this one is it's very thin. It doesn't reach the chunkiness quota. So I was like, I'm just gonna buy both and I'm sure I'll have other projects to use it for, and if I get this done quickly enough I could return them and I'll just buy both of them while I'm here and I can decide later. Enter Kmart. I don't know if Kmart have always had this yarn and I've just missed it. But chunkiness, yes. Fluffiness, yes. Frog coloredness, yes. This is the winner. And you may be asking, what are you gonna do with all that yarn? There are two possibilities. First possibility, I could just create an army of frogs with all the different yarns. And the second possibility is I could return it, but if I go to Spotlight, I'm going to end up walking out with more yarn, so I feel like I should just cut my losses and keep it for other projects in the future. So this was the winner of the yarn award. According to its label, we use a 9mm crochet hook. I don't know if I believe them. I don't know if I believe the Kmart yarn testers. I also don't know why that's not my job. Kmart, hire me. Anyway, let me get my crochet hooks. Which one will be the winner? This one is 8mm, which is smaller than they suggest, but sometimes they suggest wrong, but based on how thick it is, I don't think 8mm is going to do the job. You lose. We've got 10mm, which is a contender. I didn't know I had a 15mm hook. This one is, oh, this one is 9, which is what they told me to use. This one is 12, and this one is 20. I'm feeling like this one might be a tad too big. I'm going to start with using the 9mm one, because that's the one they told me to. I'm thinking it's going to be a 10mm, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Ooh, they have a scarf on here. Oh, this is 9mm knitting needles. It's not even 4 crochet hooks. Chuck this out. So I've ended up on deciding on a 10mm crochet hook. The first piece I'm going to start with of my giant frog is the body. And here's how we're going to do the body. It's going to be a fairly standard amigurumi sphere. It won't be exactly spherical. It'll be more like a 3D oval. What are those called? Geometry was never my strong point. Anyway, what you can see me doing here is following this lovely pattern I have written out for you. I made up this pattern myself. It basically just involves increasing by 6 stitches every single round until we get to the large number of 54 stitches. At which point I was like, yeah, this is probably a big enough base for the frog. So then with my 54 stitches in the round, it was time to just have a little crochet party and single crochet all around for many rows. Then it was time to try on my frog as a hat. Just kidding, it was really time to connect some new wool in because I ran out of the first ball of yarn and we needed to connect it to the second ball of yarn. Then it was onward to more crocheting, more rows, going all the way around that frog until my stitch marker fell out. How rude! You can't just fall out. The whole point of you is that you're meant to stay in there and count my stitches. This is why you should use an actual stitch marker and not a piece of yarn. So I had to do a few complex calculations to figure out where we were up to, and it turned out the calculations were a little too complex for my tiny brain to understand. I knew we had about 8 rows, but I couldn't figure out where the rows started. So in this pattern, I don't know if I actually ended up doing 9.5 rows or 10 rows. Somewhere in between there is the amount of rows I did before I started decreasing. We can all blame the piece of wool for falling out. It nearly ruined the entire project. In other words, get yourself an actual stitch marker. So there are about 10-ish rows before I started the decreasing. So I did my decreasing the exact same way I did my increasing, and by exactly the same, I mean completely the opposite. So instead of increasing by 6 stitches each row, I was decreasing by 6 stitches each row. And I did this until I was left with 12 stitches. Now at this point, I needed to add some stuffing. So I'm just going to be using this Hobby Feel stuffing that I got from Spotlight. I think we're going to need quite a lot of it. It's coming together. I'm really glad I bought this extra bag of stuffing because it's using a lot. Does it look like a frog yet? Ta-da! Okay, I still need to close this up. All I'm going to do is crochet 2 stitches together 6 times, and that should close it up. Okay, just need some scissors now. These tiny scissors look even tinier compared to this giant wall.
Then I did an extremely terrible job of showing you how I sewed up the final 6 stitches. That camera shake is really something special. You know, I think I should enter this into some kind of film festival.
It's a lot bigger than a basketball. So the next step of this beautiful creature is I'm going to need some eyes, I'm going to need some arms, I'm going to need some legs. I have not decided how to do that yet. There are 2 options really. I could do like small little round arms here, small little round legs here, or I could do long legs and long arms.
And it was the long legs and long arms that I decided on going with. I came to this decision basically through trial and error, although it was more like trial and yes, because I made a long leg and I was like, yeah, I like how that looks. And naturally with long legs, it was going to need some long arms. Now you're probably wondering, how do I make a glorious frog leg like that? Well, I'm going to let my past self take it away and explain it to you now.
So to start off with, I'm going to do 6 single crochets in a magic ring, and then I'm going to do 2 single crochets into each stitch to give us a base of 12 stitches. And now I'm just going to single crochet all around for many rounds until I get the leg to be the length that I want it. So we now have 19 rows on each frog leg. Frog legs are done. Let's move on to some frog arms. So for the arms, we start with 5 single crochets in the magic ring. Then we're going to single crochet twice into each stitch until we have 10 stitches all around. Now we've got a base of 10. We just go around for 12 rows. Arms are done. Well, this one needs some stuffing. It's like a sock puppet. Gotta leave a long tail for sewing.
Now I just had 2 very important pieces left to make, and that was the frog eyes. I wanted these frog eyes to be big, I wanted them to be bulging on the top of the head, and this is how I made them. So I started off by doing 6 single crochets into the magic ring, then I did 2 single crochets into each stitch to end up with 12 stitches in the round. Then I did 2 single crochets in every second stitch to end up with 18 stitches, and that was like the base of the eye. Then I did 3 more rows to end up with the overall eye shape. Now once I had my eyes done, I realized, wait, these aren't eyes, these are eye sockets. It was time to bring out the felt. So to make these felt eyes, I used some extremely sophisticated crafting techniques. And by that I mean, I used this white paint pen to trace around some washi tape to get my circular eye. And then I used the back of an enamel pin to do the little white bit. I was really on a roll when I was making these eyes, because I expected to cut out about 25 eyes before I got an eye I was happy with, but no, the washi tape was the perfect size. The little pin back I used on the white was the perfect size for the white of the eyes, and this part of the process just went really smoothly for me.
I am drowning in frog pieces. The next thing is sewing. I am scared. Is this frog gonna work out? Is this gonna be the ugliest thing I've ever made? You know, in hindsight, I really should have made like a little model frog just in normal wool and then used that to make the bigger one, but I didn't think of that. Now we have all these big frog pieces, so we're just gonna go with it. Of course, my yarn needle has been lying around for days. I've been like, yep, there's my yarn needle. Yep, there's my yarn needle. Where is it when I need it? Nowhere. Bear with me while I find another one. Got another one. I can't believe my yarn needle just abandoned me like that. This sewing is too big to give you an overhead shot. Like, I just can't fit anything in the frame. So you're gonna get to see me live action sewing. Has anybody seen the live action Little Mermaid? I'm gonna wait for it to come out on Disney Plus. I hear it's pretty good. That has happened to me like 7 times while I've been making this frog. I have a lot of my pop marts sitting along here and I keep knocking them off. This is such soft yarn, by the way. I'm really impressed by Kmart here. They're really coming out with the good stuff. Like, this is better than anything like equivalent at Spotlight. Kmart is the true craft store now. It looks like I just made an elephant. Oh my god, there was my yarn needle. It was hiding under my purple card. Well, it's too late. Someone else got the job. Now, as you probably figured, I don't pin my pieces in place. And that's not because I don't have pins big enough to hold these ones in place. Because I just don't. I'm lazy. I'm impatient. I want things to come together faster. Usually ends up working out the opposite because I do it wrong, then I have to undo it and redo it. I could have just pinned it in the first place and avoided all that mess. But then the thing is, is, this is how I justify it. I'm like, if the limbs are slightly off, you know, it gives them more character. It gives them more personality. That's why I don't pin them, because I like the randomness that occurs with random sewing. And that is the only reason. This isn't how it was in my mind. I need a bit of extra stuffing for this leg. Just a little bit, not that much. So normally I would tie these loose ends together and cut them off, but I'm not 100% sure this is how I want it to look. Actually, it's looking kind of good now. But I will just leave them until I do the arms in case I need to move any legs around. Should we do the eyes first? The eyes need stuffing. Why can I suddenly not thread this? I wasn't having any problems earlier. You're fired. You're lucky. The other one wasn't up for the job. Hang on, let's glue on the actual eyes. I lost my eyes. Okay, I found 3 out of 4 eye pieces. Where is my other eye? I might have to make a new one. Now I can't even find my eye ingredients. I'm now gluing the white bits to the black bits. Look at that eye. Why does hot glue run out so fast? I want them to be like sat right there. Now, we're obviously missing a big feature. Smile, cheeks, hat. I'm not gonna make him a hat. Yeah, I should. I have some black thread, but it might be too small, as in it might be like too thin. I might need to find some black yarn, but I'm just gonna test this first. Oh, smiles are always the worst bit. I always stuff them up, and now I'm trying to do it backwards and upside down. And you see if we're like this. This is going to take a while. I think I definitely need some thicker thread, so I'm going to get some black yarn. You can babysit the frog. I finally made a yarn scrap box. Is that cute? See, that'd be cute. Then when I sew it, it has like this gap, and I don't like that gap. I think that's as good as we're gonna get. That's pretty cute. Now, the only other thing I was considering was adding cheeks. Now, these cheeks gave me a lot of heartache. I tried about a million different ways to do them, and I just couldn't get them right. I was trying to crochet a very small circle, but every time I put it on the frog, it was just giving me like major clown vibes. And that was not the vibe I was going for. So in the end, I decided to just sew a little line of the pink yarn through some of the stitches for the cheeks, and they looked a lot better, but even getting the placement right of that was so hard. In the end, I ended up with this placement. However, plot twist, I moved the cheeks. If you think they look ugly, don't tell me, I'll probably cry. I can't even tell if they look cute. I've been looking at this frog face for way too long. My overall thoughts on this frog. Fairy would like to share her overall thoughts. Yes, what do you think? Do you like the cheeks? I'm not sure about them. So here's the finished product. It's bigger than I thought. It's heavier than I thought. I used so much stuffing. If you're gonna make something this giant, buy a whole bag of stuffing because I nearly used the whole thing. This is the biggest thing I've ever crocheted. I think it looks pretty cute. What do you think? It's hard to tell with your own crochet projects sometimes because sometimes you're just staring at them so long, you're like, what am I even looking at now? I feel like I need to take a few days to take a step back to identify how I truly feel about it. I'll give it a cute. Is it really cute? That's undecided. It definitely gets a really big though. Thank you so much for coming on this giant frog journey with me. I hope you had a fun time. I would definitely recommend this yarn if you're in Australia from Kmart. I would definitely recommend frogs as a concept. That is all for today, and we will see you again soon. Well, he might not. Where am I meant to put this? Okay, that looks pretty cute. Okay, fine. It gets really cute. It's best when it's sitting on something. Like, look at that. Look at that. I think I did a good job. But either way, I just hope you had fun watching this video. I'll see you again soon. Bye. I think this is his turn now.